It's a reading time. It's a book with a title of H is for Homicide by, I'm sorry if I butcher it, but Sue Grafton. Looking back, it's hard to remember if the low morale at California Fidelity originated with the death of one of the claim adjusters or the transfer of Gordon Titus, an efficiency expert, from the Palm Springs office, who was brought in to bolster profit. Both events contribute to the general unrest among the CV employee, and both ended up affecting me far more than I would have imagined. Given the fact that my association with the company had been, up to that point, so loose. In checking back through my calendar, I find a brief penciled note on the appointment which Gordon Titus, whose arrival was imminent when Parnell was killed. After that first meeting with Titus, I jotted SOB extraordinaire, which summarized my entire relationship with him. I'd be gone for 3 weeks doing a customer investigative report for a San Diego company concerned about a high-level executive whose background turned out to be something other than he'd represented. The work had taken me all over the state, and I had checked in my pocket for, what the hell is that? Bee coops, bugs by the time. I'm still learning English. I'm still trying to figure out how to pronounce some words, so yeah. Bee coop bugs by the time I wrap up in my inquiry on Friday afternoon. I'd been given the option of remaining in San Diego that weekend at the company's expense, but I woke up inexplicably at 3 a.m. with a primal longing for home. A moon the size of a dinner plate was propped up on the balcony outside my window, and the light falling across my face was almost bright enough to read by. I lay there staring at the swaying shadow of palm fronds on the wall, and I knew that what I wanted most was to be in my own bed. I was tired of hotel rooms and meals on the road. I was tired of spending time with people I didn't know well or expect to see again. I got out of bed, put my clothes on, and threw everything I had in my duffel bag. By 3:30 a.m., I checked out, and 10 minutes later, I was on the 405 northbound, heading for Santa Teresa in my new, used VW box, a 1974 sedan, pale blue, with only one wee small ding in the left rear fender. Classy stuff. At that hour, the Los Angeles freeway system is just beginning to hum. Traffic was light, but every on-ramp seemed to donate a vehicle or two. People pouring north to work. It was still dark, with a delicious chill in the air, a ground fog curling along the berm like puffs of smoke. The word the track of house tucked into the landscape showing no sign of life. The lights along the highway contributed a nearly ghostly illumination, and what was visible of the city in the distance seemed stately and serene. I always feel an affinity for others traveling at such hour, as if we were all engaged in some form of clandestine activity. Many of the other drivers had oversized styrofoam cups of coffee. Some were actually managing to wolf down a fast food as they drove. With the occasion car window rolled down, I was treated to bursts of booming music that faded away as the cars passed me, changing lanes. A glance in my rearview mirror showed a woman in the convertible behind me emoting with vigor, belting out a lip sync solo as the wind whipped through her hair. I felt a jolt of pure joy. It was one of those occasions when I suddenly realized how happy I was. Life was good. I was female, single, with money in my pocket and enough gas to get home. Oh my god, this is me! Like, damn! This book is literally me. There. I felt a jolt of pure joy. It was one of those occasions when I suddenly realized how happy I was. Life was good. I was female, single, with money in my pocket and enough gas to get home. Hell yeah! I had nobody to answer to and no ties to speak of. I was healthy physically. I was healthy. Physically fit, yeah. Filled with energy, heck yeah. I flipped on the radio and chimed in on a, a, a chorus of Amazing Grace. Sing it. Which didn't quite suit the occasion but was the only station I could find. An early morning evangelist how to read evangelist evangelist began to make his speech, and by the time I reached Ventura, I was nearly redeemed. As usual, I'd forgotten how often surge of goodwill merely presage bad news. The unusual 5-hour drive from San Diego was condensed to 4.5, which put me back in Santa Teresa at a little after 8. I was still feeling weird. I decided to hit the office first, dropping off my typewriter and the briefcase full of notes before I headed home. I'd stop at the supermarket somewhere along the way and pick up just enough to get more through the next 2 days. Once I unloaded my duffel at home, I intended to grab a quick shower and then sleep for 10 hours straight. I can relate. Getting up just in time for a bite supper at Rosie's down the street from me. There's nothing quite as decent as a day in the shack alone. I turned my phone off, let the machine pick up, and tape a note in the front door saying, "Do not bother me." I could hardly wait. I expected the parking lot behind my office building to be deserted. It was Saturday morning, and the stores downtown wouldn't open till 10. It was puzzling, therefore, to realize that the area was swarming with people, some of whom were cops. My first thought was that maybe a movie was being shot. The area cordoned off so the camera could roll without interruption. There was a smattering of onlookers standing out on the street and the same general air of orchestrated boredom that seemed to accompany a shot. Then I spotted the crime scene tape and my sense went on red alert. Since the lot was inaccessible, I found a parking place out at the curb. I removed my handgun from my purse and tucked it into my briefcase in the basket, locked the car doors, and moved towards the uniformed officer who was standing near the parking kiosk. He turned a speculative he turned a speculative eyes on me as I approached, trying to decide if I had any business at the scene. He was a nice-looking man in his 30s with a long, narrow-faced, hazel eyes, closely trimmed auburn hair, and a small mustache. His smile was polite and exposed a chin in one of his front teeth. A chip and exposed a chip in one of his front teeth. Where was it just now? He'd either be in fight or use his central incisors in a manner his mother had warned him about as a child. May I help you? I stared up the 3-story stucco building, which was mostly retail shop on the ground floor, business above. I tried to look like an especially law-abiding citizen instead of a freelance private investigator with tendency to fib. Hi, what's going on? I work on that building and I was hoping to get in. We'll be wrapping this up in another 20 minutes. You have an office up there? I'm part of the second floor insurance complex. What was it? A burglary? The hazel eyes did a full survey as I could see the caution kicked in. He didn't intend to disseminate information without knowing who I was. May I see some identification? Sure. I just get my wallet, I said. I didn't want him to think I was whipping out a weapon. Cops at a crime scene can be edgy little buggers. Probably don't appreciate sudden moves. I handed him my blindfold flipped open to my California driver license with a photostat of my PI license visible in the slot below. I've been out of town and I wanted to drop off some stuff before I headed home. I've been a cop myself once, but I still tend to volunteer tidbits and that are none of their business. His scrutiny was brief. Well, I doubt they'll let you in, but you can always ask, he said, gesturing towards plainclothes detective with a clipboard. Check with Sergeant Hollingshed. I still didn't have a clue that what was going on, so I tried again. Did someone break into the jewelry store? Homicide. Really? Scanning the parking lot. I could see clutters of police personnel working in an area where the that's all. It's already 14 minutes. How to turn it off?